2018 was a year full of accomplishments for the City of Hot Springs, and 2019 will be no different. With me today is Doretha Yates, Finance Director for the city, and we're going to be taking a look back at some of the highlights of 2018, as well as looking ahead to some of the things that we'll be accomplishing in the coming year. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Terry. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Let's start right off about talking about the budget. Every year you submit the budget to the Government Finance Officers Association. And what is the purpose of doing that?
The purpose of doing that is we submit it for an award, the Budget Excellence Award, and the GFOA is a national association, and cities all across the United States and Canada submit the budget. They have a very stringent set of rules. Here's how you present things. And the purpose is to have a consistent method from city to city to look at budgets so that you're looking at apples and apples if you're comparing the budgets. They also encourage transparency in government. They encourage citizen participation in budgeting. So the whole purpose behind that is just to make sure that we have a quality budget process and budget document.
So how do you measure up, as you've been submitting this budget book for some years now?
We have, and we won the award this last year. There was a few years that we weren't actually submitting the document to GFOA, but we did submit it this last year, and we won the award. They grade you in a number of different areas, and there are some areas that we can improve in, but we did win the award, and looking forward to doing an even better job this next year as we do 2019 budget.
It's quite a staff effort.
It is. It takes a number of people dedicated to that process for a while, yes.
And in the interest of transparency, it's available online for anyone who wants to take a look at the details.
Yes, it is. So on our website.
Yes, and our website is cityhs.net, or you can Google City of Hot Springs Government in Arkansas, of course, to find a lot of details in the book, which is a very attractive one, I might add.
Well, thank you. I've had a lot of good help from staff on that.
Mm-hmm. Every year, you also have to close the books for a given year. Can you describe how that process goes?
Yes, one of the biggest efforts at closing the books at the end of the year is getting all the invoices in for things that we owe people, and getting those in and booked in the correct year. But once that's done, then the closing process also is a process where we're getting ready for an audit, where the auditors will come in. So we're looking at all of our accounts. We're doing detailed analysis of those accounts. Some entries and things that we only do once a year, we're doing those to get those books in proper order for the audit at the end of the year. But it usually takes us 2 months, basically, to get the books closed, and then probably another 2 months to totally get ready for that audit and put the financial statements together.
So I don't think many people realize that that's a full 4-month process, which you just described.
It is. And in the meantime, we're continuing on with all of our activities for the new year as well.
So for the first quarter, you're doing the closing of the books, and a lot of the ability to obtain a clean audit, the responsibility falls on the individual departments as well as your staff?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great. Okay, going on, this past year had also involved a very large a large project for finance, that of software conversion. What is that all about, and in particular, how is it going to improve operations?
Right. We actually did our conversion back a year or so ago here in finance. We have one software that we plan to use across the city for accounting operations. And so we implemented that a little over a year ago. This last year, though, it was a phased-in implementation. So this last year, Utilities has been working on their implementation, and they actually just went live like a week ago, I believe, 1 or 2 weeks ago. And then this next year, planning will be going live with it, and also business licensing. And what we found here in finance is that, and of course this was the purpose of it, was that we've saved a lot of time on different processes. For example, we're used to the departments that took cash would take that cash. They would have to account for it over there. We'd bring it over here, and we'd put it into the software over here and make the deposit. Now they're able to put it directly into the software where they're at. And so we've eliminated a lot of double entry and saved a lot of time. As soon as we finish these other processes we're working on, we feel like that will save a lot of time as well. So obviously that's the whole purpose of changing software, is to make you more efficient, and that's what's happening.
So you really continue to oversee the software conversion process as each of the departments come online with it?
Yes, planning. I mean, the main focus will be what they do and how the software will do their process. We get involved on this because, of course, the cash and all those transactions eventually flow into our general ledger. So that's that's where we get involved. But a lot of planning, like inspections and things like that, they will have responsibility for that part of that conversion.
So hopefully for other departments as well as you'll end up with a streamlined result.
Right.
For all the processes involved.
Yes.
Okay. Bond issues.
Yeah.
In 2018, two major bond issues were brought online or passed. Tell us about the bond issues, what they're for, as well as pre-issuance and post-issuance work that finance has to get involved in.
We had two major bond issues this last year. One of them was in the water fund. It was like a little over $20 million. And that was to help us fund some improvements in our water distribution system, like for instance the tank that's being built over in Cornerstone. Part of that was part of that bond issue. Also, the initial preparation for our new water plant, the bond issue funded some of that. And the other bond issue was the one that the taxpayers approved back in September for the Mid-America Museum bond. And the process is, the front end, there are a lot of people involved in the bond issue. There's the city, obviously, from the finance side and also the operations side. There's underwriters, there's attorneys that are involved, financial advisors that are involved, a lot of different paperwork, and those two, since those bonds can be publicly traded, then there's a lot of regulations that we end up following from the SEC. There's a lot of paperwork. This right here is the paperwork from the hotel bond issue for the Mid-America Museum. And as you can see, a lot of different documents go into this. Of course, it's approved by the board. This one also was approved by the taxpayers. And once that bond issue actually happens, there's a lot of work on the back side on taking care of the funds. For example, on the water bond, one day we have $20 million. Well, you don't want that $20 million to just sit there because you're going to be spending it over a period of time. So we spend a lot of time investing those bond proceeds to make sure that in the meantime they're making money. And then there's also a lot of reporting requirements that the SEC has. We have to, once a year on all these bond issues, we have to file reports called continuing disclosures. And those have to be filed by a certain time, have to follow a certain format again. So there's a lot of work that relates to bonds.
Now, not every year you have to deal with bonds. Is it unusual to have two big projects like this in one year that you're dealing with?
For us, probably so.
Particularly because we've been having ongoing water system improvements.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had bond issues probably every year for like the last 5 or 6 years, I know, with the water improvements and the wastewater improvements.
Yes,
So,
and we've made an incredible amount of progress in our city's water and wastewater systems as a result.
absolutely, absolutely.
Is there anything else that you'd like to mention as we look back on 2018 and we look forward to 2019 and all that it will bring? It's going to be a busy year as well.
Yeah, it will be. It's going to be an exciting year. All the things that are happening in the city, North Woods, the Oak Lawn expansion, everything that's happening downtown. The last 2 years have been exciting, and it just, every year there's something new to look forward to. So I'm really excited about those. I'm interested in what kind of impact it's going to have on our tax revenues as well, because kind of live and die by our sales tax revenues. So I'm interested in seeing how that impacts it. But it's going to be a busy year, that's for sure.
A busy year, and particularly ongoing busy for the finance department because it has its hand behind the scenes in literally every large project.
It does. Every grant, every dime that's spent on assets, we have 2 people that are devoted specifically to grants and fixed assets. That's all they do, is they take care of those 2.
Yes. And Doretha is part of our Complete Streets team, which is a multi-departmental team that is looking after every grant that we can possibly leverage to improve our city.
Right. Yeah, we've done, been successful in getting a lot of grants, and it's exciting to get them, but there is a lot of work on the backside too, as you account for them, make sure you follow all the grant specs and everything.
That's where your staff is invaluable as well, giving advice and making sure we stay on track and we keep all the records as they need to be.
Right.
Great. Well, thanks for looking back at a great year. Looking forward to 2019. And every year it seems, as you say, Hot Springs has something new and exciting to look forward to.
Right.
Thank you for all the work that you do and your staff does.
You bet.
And
I just want to point out this is our CAFR.
Oh yes.
That we put out every year. This is basically the annual report, and this is online. And then this right here was the 2018 annual budget as well. So that can be anyone can look at those and find out probably more than you want to know about the financial affairs of the city just with these 2 documents.
Yes. Well, let's make sure that the public knows you can access every page of those documents on cityhs.net. And you can also contact Doretha with any questions here at the
Sure.
Finance Department.
Right. So, yeah, my number is 321-6825, and I'm always happy to talk to citizens.
Great. Thanks so much for joining us today.
You bet.
And that's a behind-the-scenes look at what finance does for the city of Hot Springs, for you, the taxpayers. Next week, we'll bring you more city news.